And so let's read silently this and see if there is anything that you remember that we did that is in this list. How about developing trusting relationship? Do you remember what we did for that? Some of the things that we did to develop trusting relationships.
Team projects.
But we also use like icebreakers and we share our personal lives with you. We open our lives to you.
And the learning climate, and then we got to add some more things to that, so we took part in some of those.
Okay.
What I can say though is, honestly, we have two parents at this table, and, I'm not gonna say I wasn't receptive or about how this would be, but just listen to their ideas and, now, and their personalities and how, how they share it, they connect. We're connecting over here, but at first I was just like, I'm gonna see exactly how this is gonna go. But then but this is a learning experience as an administrator and as an educator, because you can be biased, and it can be the vice versa with, if I would've just sat here and didn't say much, the parents probably been like, but she already had an experience with me. But yeah, she's like, you're standoffish or things like that. So I think as we began to work together and get to collaborate and see through the experience of the different exercises, it smoothed out.
Well, let me tell you, we're gonna go home happy because this is what we wanted. For you guys to understand that you can be partners, right? What else? What else do you see this here that we did with you? How about connect to prior experiences? We talked about it, right?
I mean, even the activity today with the questions this morning where we walked four different people with those questions. We talked about some things. What's important to you? What's some of those things that brings up the past.
That was such a great activity.
Everybody wants to talk about their experiences and the way that y'all handled it. You let everybody say their piece and also made us feel like what we said was important. Both of y'all done that, so thank you for that.
Foster peer-to-peer engagement. Do you remember anything that we did that was peer-to-peer engagement? This activity, changing tables, like find a new person, like work with somebody that you don't know, right?
What's our MO as adults? Like when somebody says, okay, we're gonna do this activity, get with a partner, you go with who you know, right?
Right.
So finding creative ways in your family engagement events to mix up so different connections can be made. That's the whole reason that we do have you do this stuff, is so that you can experience that and maybe learn something that you can replicate. Good.
And implement experiential learning experiences.
Can I say something about tapping into talents? I think I heard you say today, I'm not all that creative, right? But somebody else at the table was, and we did this, pipe cleaner exercise as grown adults, and we tapped into those, and those who have more artistic creativity brought the rest of us along, right? So we tapped
But it
into
was a
those
team,
talents.
if you'd have just told me I had to do that metaphor. We talked about not being bad. Yeah, that's Monday, that's my Ruth, I even got to contribute,
Yeah.
I feel the same. When we were discussing who was going to do what, I was like, you do this. I can do that. All right, so we're almost done with the framework. But before we do that, we're gonna kind of do the last, look at the process conditions. And for that, what I would like you to do is you're going to to your participant guide, page 6 and 7, is where you have your process conditions. And what I wanted to do is to read those definitions. Try to-
Definitions are on 7, sorry, definitions are on 7, just the.
Yeah,
Okay.
just, 6 is just the process
Graphic of it,
conditions, the graphic. And 7 is the definitions. So what I wanted to do is like read them, digest them, and underline anything that you think is really important. Anything that you think you really need to take with you. And we're going to discuss this we're gonna have discuss in about, 10 minutes, okay?
Yeah. If you need if you want a highlighter, I have highlighters. Yeah. Good. Anybody else? Highlighter. Yep.
Y'all looking a little sleepy, I don't know.
Okay, back to me.
No cupcakes for you.
No cupcakes. So I'm going to give you an example of what I want. If I want to summarize this, I would say relational is to create meaningful, trusting, respectful, goal-oriented relationship between home and school. Because when there is no trust, you cannot learn. And if you want your parents to learn, they need to feel like that there is a trusting relationship with you. Now, one example that we have with you for process condition that it was relational. We had fun activities, we show ourselves as we are, we share our lives with you, so that is relational, right? Anything that you would like to say about this, the relational?
I just put to gain a friend, you have to show yourself friendly.
Exactly. And even with your students, right? If they don't feel that they are safe, they're not going to learn. They're not going to be with you.
Check out.
How about learning and development? Who can kind of summarize what you have?
Our activities need to be linked to what's happening in the school. How parents, the way I see it is, we're helping parents to know how they can help at home.
Mm-hmm.
So you link it to learn, whether it be something that's already taken place or something that's going to take place in the future, you give parents the tools that they can be of help at home. So you link it to the learning that's going to take place in the school, giving them tools to help at home. That's how
And what is going to take place in the school is what is going to take place in the system, right?
Yes.
Also. So we have the district goals, we have the school goals, and we have the grade level goals, and we have the students' goals. So everything needs to be linked, right? Anything else?
I underline, families are empowered, and if the goal is learning, then that's gonna strengthen the family unit. So the empowerment of that, the strengthening of the family unit could just, it's kind of like a teacher saying, I can learn just as much from you as you can learn from me. And so if that student is empowered, the linking of that is, there's such a big catastrophic thing that can happen, such a big ripple effect that can happen. So it just, one link continues to link other links and makes a big effect.
Exactly. And also, we need to think about what it says there, development. Because remember that story about the immigrant mom that after she learned that her child was getting better in reading because she was reading with him, she started to read every night. So that is that development. So we need to build that capacity in those parents and teach them how they can teach their kids at home and how they can support their learning of their children at home.
Look, and I'm a teacher mom, and there's nothing more frustrating than when I'm trying to help my child do their homework and he says, well, that's not the way the teacher does.
It happens often.
So anything, any tidbit would help, just like, well, let me show you the way your teacher does it, child. Just help those families, help those parents be helpful to their children.
Exactly. But then we need to make a better communication.
Right.
Right?
Most of the schools don't start with examples like we had, not many books with
Alright.
examples and stuff.
Asset base, what did you have?
I think we need to start with the expertise of the families. Then it says add, the school can add to it to support the learning. That's going to increase their confidence. And again, that empowerment, it empowers them to become more active. They gain that knowledge and they're informed. So that it goes back to the communication thing too. So.
And something that we have to keep in mind is that comparison between asset-based and deficit-based. Because we have that tendency to have those assumptions that because I am loud, because I'm Latina, it is because I don't know how to behave. No, it is cultural, you know? And so we need to find those things, those assets that the parents have, and look at those and not always have that lens of the deficit base. They can do it because they are poor, because they are illiterate, because they don't care about their kids.
And I think that one thing that we're gonna have to be careful about in New York City is because, you know, it's always touted what our poverty rate is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to approach this, like you said, from a deficit base, because we have such a high level of poverty, this, and this. But we really have to look at, like you said, yes, we have poverty, but there still are assets. Our kids can still learn. There are still
There's
things
still
that we
funds
can
of
do.
knowledge.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then I think about when that parent started sitting with her child to read, it might not have been that she was of any benefit whatsoever instructionally, but the fact that she sat down beside the child and she made the child feel like that reading was important, that drove the child to, you know, want to do more. So sometimes it's just the interactive piece that the parent gives to the child socially.
Remember the video with Jessica Solano, how the kid was so happy because she moved from 43% to 75%. Okay, 4, we talked about this a lot, culturally responsive and respectful. Can summarize that for me?
Help me help you.
Yeah.
You know, as a pastor, I'm often looked at as like, I gotta be available 24/7, so this really hit me when I started reading this, because collaborative is a different kind of word, and you don't know how to correctly say what that means. And when I read this, it helped me understand that a little bit more. But having that support from one another is so crucial. You know, in a marriage even, it's not that I give 50% of my marriage and my wife gives 50%, you have 100. No. I give 100 all the time, and she gives 100 all the time. If there's a day where I can't give 100, I can only give 70, it's okay, she's still giving 100 on that day. And so that collaborative effort is building on those strengths, building on that development of what you do have, and continuing looking forward and not residing on where you have been. So building on that, building on what you have.
Not that schools should reflect the community.
Tell me more about that.
I was just thinking about some of the things that we implemented this year, because at the end of the year, I sat back and I reflected on what I could have done better as an assistant principal last year. And then this year, now that I'm the principal, I thought, okay, what can I do to recognize different races and cultures? So we just did something little, because then we did the Pledge of Allegiance based on, like, if it's the Hispanic Heritage Month, we had all of our Hispanic students come up to the office and they did the pledge in Spanish and then in English. And it got to the point where I was worried. I was telling them I was worried that they might feel singled out. It backfired. They would come volunteer. Can I do it in Spanish? And I have her, she'll do it in English. So I was just thinking, how can Radney reflect what is in the community? All races, all cultures. We shouldn't just look one way. We need to be able to embrace all of them. So we have our Asian. I had a Korean boy says, when am I gonna do it in Korean, Miss Morgan? I said, you tell me what month is yours. He said, okay, now I'm gonna need you to translate it too, like you did for them. I said, okay. But it was just, recognizing something small like that.
Yeah, being inclusive.
Exactly.
But remember, go ahead.
Go ahead, what you got?
No, you go.
No, what she's saying, I was actually like excited when the counselors did it for the Hispanic month and stuff like that, and I saw them in the counselors, and they were so excited putting their program together and stuff, and so I kind of just got in the middle of them, was like, hey, when y'all gonna bring me a sombrero or something to wear? And they were like, you gonna wear one? I said, and you see that their eyes light up when they feel like they're a part of the culture.
Because they feel valued.
But I also wanted to say too, when it came to like asset based, when it comes to like low poverty. I don't see this, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't even see like TransUnion buses coming through here to help people who don't have transportation. Cause a lot of people, we assume that they might have transportation, but that's also a big asset of why families aren't engaged in the school system. Because the largest cities, they have bus routes when you can pay 35 cents or a quarter. And so, if we're gonna make sure that this is really, is gonna work, we have to sit down with the commissioners as well and the other stakeholders to understand it takes everybody. And just because I know it'd be easier said than done to say, hey, we get a ACMS or, what is it, ACS bus to go pick up parents. But if they had a citywide bus route where parents can get back and forth and families can get to stores and different resources, we can move the dial a different direction.
Yeah.
We have it.
I've never seen one.
A Rise van, you can call a Rise and they will take you to doctor's appointments,
That's
to
what I was
Walmart,
wrong.
into,
Okay.
And
See?
anywhere else.
And they'll bring them to the prison just for like elderly.
That's what I just said, I think everybody thinks that's
It's
for
not
the
just for the
elderly
elderly,
population.
but it's not.
Okay, so our parents could use, cause we have a couple who can't make it.
Yeah,
It's not
we
for us,
call
but it's not
Rise
just for
and they'll
elderly.
take you wherever you have to call ahead of time, like, I don't know if it's like the day before, you can look at whatever.
I think get that information.
No, but you know what? What I want to say before I forget is that is capital social capital.
Yeah.
See, she has an information that you didn't know existed,
Yeah.
right? And now you're sharing that information with them. And just continue, just,
Oh, yeah, so I was just saying, the Arise van, they will take you, it's not just for the
RISE.
elderly. They will,
Chris?
yeah, there is a charge. And, yeah, it's not a lot, but there is a small charge, but, you know, once we get that information out to the families, you know, and working with the community, possibly from the district level, if the parents are coming from home and coming to one of the schools, it could be something that could be offset, you know, like in communications from our district with Arise, if they're picking a parent up and they're taking them to a school and picking them up from a school and taking them back home, you know, there's something I'm sure that could probably be worked out or something like that, you know, not that we're trying to get the city to pay for them to go to Walmart, that kind of thing, but you know, that's collaborating with, you know, our other infrastructure here.
So that is an example of social capital. You wanted to say something?
Yeah,
And then you.
we're talking about the culturally responsive and respectful, and there's an old saying that I've heard and I've used, Dr. Price and Ms. Simmons have said. Sometimes when we think of people who are different from us, we think of them as problems to be fixed. And we do it from our own mindset and our own position, no matter what. So we need to transition from thinking that people are problems to be fixed, but it's souls we have the honor of accompanying to walk with in life. And when you take that position, you start to see the good that they bring out, and you start to see, you see what they add to you, not what they take away from you. So it's an assumption. We get to look at each other and walk with each other, and that's part of who we get to be.
And just piggybacking off of that, what we heard earlier about, understanding why, certain cultures are allowed in the classrooms and that sort of thing. Somebody made the comment that it's okay to be you, and your culture is you. That is who you are. And it's not something that we don't need to get the teacher to fix you. We need the teacher to understand you. That is you. And having that understanding, it's not something we got to fix and change, but it's something we need to embrace and honor and respect.
And that was what I wanted to say. Like, if there is something that I want you to remember about being culturally responsive, is be sensitive. Just be sensitive. Because there are so many differences. And when you start by looking at that person and seeing, okay, probably that person is not trying to be disrespectful with me, it might be their culture, then just see things differently.
Can I say at the lowest granular level of being culturally responsive, and of course this comes from the African culture because that's where I am. But just to, if a person's name is spelled in a way that is not phonemically correct, ask them how to pronounce it. Go home and practice it. They should not have to tell you every time how to pronounce it. I said to you yesterday, I may mispronounce and I asked you to say it for me. That really makes my blood boil when somebody mispronounces a person's name in January that's been in their class since August.
Or they wanna shorten
You
it.
should not, or they want, you should, at the least level of respect, you should pronounce a name correct. That is being culturally sensitive.
And you know what, our kids just get used to it.
Exactly.
Because, yeah, when I started to work as a teacher, I had a student whose name, he said it was Xavier, and I was like, what? Xavier. How does your mom call you Javier?
But people have been calling him.
Yeah, but everybody like here is okay to say Xavier, so he, okay, I'm Xavier.
I just wanted everybody to, like, I have to say it, but when it comes to like a culture, like that includes disabilities too.
Exactly.
I think they get left out in some of this sometimes. It's not just about like the color of your skin or where you come from. I mean, it's about being different.
Exactly.
And that's included in that too. They're kind of a pretty big blessing too if you think of it that way.
I'm
So,
glad you brought that up.
I just wanted to throw that out there.
You're right.
But too, like, I've been in classrooms before where you have a handicapped child and nobody wants to say what's wrong. My grandbaby has cerebral palsy, so her mom went into her class and explained what happened. So those kids now, they take care of her.
Yes. I send a book every year that says, why is he doing that? That's like the name of it or something like that. And I tell all the teachers, I always want you to read it because kids at that age, if you'll start then, they always want to know. And I want them to know.
Celebrating differences.
And all it takes is for you to say, he's just different, he's got autism, he doesn't talk, and they're like, okay. So
That's all they need to know.
since kindergarten, they're like, that's just Bryce. They don't think of him like that now. Now they think of, he's the fastest hiker in the whole school. Like, he's really fast, like those are the first things they think of because you answered that why. That's all it took. They were like, okay. And they just went on.
They're gonna ask either way, so you
Yeah,
can make it
tell
an
'em.
appropriate way to ask, or
I want them to know.
they
Or
gonna find
put out a
another way.
fire. Yeah.
And then maybe they'll go home and tell their parents,
And you're creating a new culture.
Yeah, talk about it.
They're not handicapped, they're handicapable.
Very much so.
I wanted to say too, that I know like, as the adults, and I keep coming from the educator's perspective because I really believe and feel in my heart it's our job to make this thing happen. And so, like, a lot of times we're sensitive and we hold our feelings, and so like if a student, rubs us the wrong way, then we come in the next morning and we're holding grudges. And so we create this kind of negative energy within the classroom, or if we ask an open-ended question, we have in our mind what we think the answer should be, but when we don't get that answer that we're looking for, then we're offended, and then we display that. Because like my daughter, and you just have to know my daughter, but she had a sub in the class, and the sub was not talking about anything that the teacher had left and started talking about horses. Well, she could care less about a horse. And so after the sub was passionate about horses, she trained them and all this in her off time, right? So, she asked the class, she said, well, if you're not interested in what I'm saying and you'd rather talk about something else, then, let me know. Well, my oldest daughter would be politically correct and just go along with it. Well, she didn't have my oldest daughter. And so she raised her hand and she was like, I really could care less about horses and I really like to move on. And so the sub was offended by that because she thought she had disrespected her. And I'm just like, when you don't ask questions like that, and don't, you know what I'm saying? And so a lot of
kind of create that kind of thing, but two of the words that popped out here and resonated with me is being authentic and being intentional. And, you know, we can pick up on that, you know, very well, and children are great at that. And on the intentional side, when I'm in the hall every day and students are coming through, I am intentional about, if I speak to the African American student, I'm going to speak to the next white student the next day. I'm intentional about that. Now, to some of you, it may seem like that may be a negative thing. But my reasoning is that I know how many times that I'm walking through the hallway and my adult colleagues will see me and turn and not speak, or if I'm going into another building or something like that. And I know how that makes me feel as an adult. So I like to speak to all the students just because I'm personable, but I'm intentional about making that scene so that the students see me, the students that look like me and the students that don't look like me, to understand and to know that it's important that we make everybody feel. And a lot of the students that look like me, I know them because this is a small area and I've been here. But I want to make sure that everybody, every child that comes within distance of me, you know, good morning, good morning. And there are so many of, I could not tell you their name, but they will tell you if they see Miss Freeman in the hallway, she's going to say good morning. And so I just think that a lot of this, what we have on our plate to consume now, is going to start out intentional in order to make this work. But then it becomes habit, and that's what you do.
Can you imagine how a parent will feel if that person goes in a school and nobody says good morning to them? And sometimes, I don't remember where I hear this, but there was a school where the principal asked all of the adults in that building to, if they see another adult, they need to say hello or whatever. So parents were like, oh my goodness, like hello, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, you know? It changed the climate, right? Okay, who can summarize for me?
I messed that up. I talked about
You jumped
collaboration.
ahead.
It's okay.
Hey, intentional was my word for culture there.
Okay,
You're
we
welcome.
have another person to summarize collaborative.
I'm not going again.
You did such a good job, though.
Good enough to be
I
said.
appreciate y'all not judging me while I.
When I read the collaborative, I thought of being back in school when our teachers would tell us, all right, now you need to make friends with like 3 or 4 people around you, okay? Because if you're absent, you need to know who to call.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that is the adult version of that.
Yeah.
Like, get your people talking together, get your parents talking together, so they're not always having to go to the teacher, that they can go to each other first, and they do it anyway.
Yeah.
They do it anyway. They just
Make
do
that
it within their
positive
little groups. We're just trying to broaden their group.
And make it positive. It's not always about the bad
Right.
stuff, yeah.
And then when you do it, you use that well-structured group activities. You co-create and you co-facilitate. So you got everything going.
So back in the district where I used to work, we had so many volunteers, so many. So each classroom, like each teacher had probably half of the class, parents were volunteers. So anything that the parent needed to do, the teacher needed to do, like cutting, like making copies, like putting things in baggies, like the parents knew that that was the work, their job, and they did it for the teachers. So that is being collaborative, right? Is getting that help, is knowing that you can help your teachers to do a better job, right? And the last one, interactive.
But have fun, loosen up, don't be a stiff, boring person.
Anybody else?
That's a t-shirt.
I like they said, practice and feedback. Because oftentimes we have the practice part of it, but we don't allow feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to allow feedback with, when having interactions with parents, just that, even though we're working on this, so we set this practice in motion, but can you give us some feedback on it?
Mm-hmm.
And even though I know we say surveys, several times today, but even getting them to do a survey or just something to check off, just to tell us, how did we do? How is it going? Because I noticed lately in Walmart, they'll ask you, hey, can you click on this and can you go to this? So
Stars at the check.
Yeah, and it starts with checkout, or can you go back and check and tell them how I did today? Because they're using that to give them some bonuses and so forth for them. But if we can, give that feedback to parents, allow parents to give us that feedback, that would be good.
Well, think about the open house. What is what we usually do during open house? Here's this, and it needs to be signed, and fill this out, and blah, blah, and this is my policy, and I talk, and then this is it, bye-bye, see you next year, right?
See, I've always thought you need to have an open house, like meet the teacher, and then you need to have an open house for just the parents. So they can come in and really meet you, because you're trying to put, and then the kids are in the room, and then you can't focus on anything. We did that, we had to meet the teacher, and then we had a night where they didn't bring their children.
Or if they do, we were talking about this, the activity teachers in our school building, being kind of like babysitter and let the kids go play in the gym or whatever, and utilize them. Since they wouldn't have an instructional component if we did like a math or a reading.
Yeah.
But you know what? Open house is your golden opportunity. It's the first time that you're gonna see those parents. How about doing something different? Having like a nice ice-breaking activity, like something like we did here, like listening to them, knowing from them. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, everything, again, from today has been definitely receptive to take back to my team, because, again, sitting at this table with the parents and listening to their suggestions, but they have really good attitudes. And they're welcoming, and they said some stuff that you like, okay, but the way they're communicating to us so that we can be receptive. But just sit down, I don't think she's guarded anymore, I'm not guarded anymore, she's not guarded. I think we've established a small little family.
Yeah.
Community.
We established that, I mean, just because we're here and we're trying to get an understanding how to merge that gap and put it together and bridge everything, and I think that's what we need.
Your job now is to move this from this team to your whole school.
Yes.
And as
Correct.
instructional leaders, we have to lead the way.
Yes.
We have to model it. We just can't say it. We gotta do it. We just can't say that this is what we wanna have done. We gotta get in there, roll up our sleeves and make it a culture, make it a norm, make it just be the change. My pastor always says, if you wanna change the attitude in the room, bring in the one that you want it to turn into. Bring it in the room with you.
And also, I think we in this school system, or even before I learned about it, we tend to just already assume that we know the problem. So you wanna just bust out with a new solution and a new practice because one or two students, had an issue with that, and then you're fixing something that's not really even broken. It was just that one or two students who had an issue. I think the example we can use is like when Miss Harry came and did the roundabout, and it created like a chaos. I just heard about it. I didn't go through it. I mean, we said this is secondhand information. Oh, I'm Dr. Harry.
But to your point, Mr. Brooks, I think had we not spent time yesterday creating an environment where trust was respected and we want to provide an opportunity to hear each other, and we started building relationships with one another, this might not be as easy to hear when there's hard conversations to have, or criticism, however you want to phrase that. So when we started out the day yesterday with this idea of trust, that's because you got to have that before you can even start to build relationships, right?
One thing that I underlined was multiple opportunities to do this, because
One time
ain't gonna
is
get,
not enough.
yeah.
We had to do this yesterday in the morning, we had to do this yesterday afternoon, we're having to do it again. But it is growing, so it's not, like I said, it's not gonna take one time to do this. We're going to have to facilitate. It's gonna be hard work, but it's just like any kind of relationship. We're gonna have to get in there and do it, so.
And I wanna piggyback on that also, is that on that multiple opportunities, because, we, that one and done thing, so that we can say to the district, okay, so we're gonna do this big grandiose thing so that
you walk and feel good about the money that was spent here. You know, and then we do this one thing and we're done with it. But if this is going to be something that, and I feel that it is, because I just know that, like I said earlier, that children will jump through hoops for you if they think that you really care about them. And that's what this is all about. And everything that we do should be student or, for parents, child focused, so that, yes, it's going to be a little bit more work on the parents' part. It's going to be a little bit more work on the educator's part, but it's going to benefit our children. So, you know, when you think about what I'm giving, does it even anywhere equal what it is that we're going to get back? Because the little bit more that we're going to do, I mean, just think about how children are going to be inspired. And I tell all of my students that, you know, I find one or two that I can plant it in. And then I get them to take my message out in my classes. I said, because see, he'll listen to you or she'll listen to you, but there's going to always be one or two that kind of gravitates to the teacher. And then when I plant that idea, and when I want something to happen, then I get them to, you spread it. You go tell them that's what we're going to do. I said, because when you say it, it sounds differently than when I say it. And so then, you know, I have a team, and so most of the time I don't have that pullback. But the thing here, once again, is that in this next to the last line here in interactive, is that the schools must coach and support the families as they learn to master the desired skills. And that's going to be the same thing for us. The more practice we get, the better we're going to be at selling this, and the better people we are going to become. And then, you know, you're going to always have those naysayers, so it's still our job to go to our co-workers and say, hey, but look at how this is going to benefit you in the classroom. You're going to have less problems. You know, we're making friends. You know, so that, I mean, basically that's what we're doing. We're trying to make friends here. You know, so we make friends with the parents. The parents are going to tell the children, you better not go up there and do that. But, you know, if the parents don't care anything about you, they just sit down, just do what you do. You know, and I'm just saying, that's just, it's not, it's sad that it's that way, but if the parents are our friends, then they're going to do everything that they can to make our lives a whole lot easier. But if the parents don't think that we care about them and don't think that we care about their children, they don't care what we have to do, but they're glad to just get them out the house for 8 hours. And then they tell you, I know what you're dealing with, because I know what I'm dealing with at home. You know, and
I can't help you.
You know what I'm saying? I can't help you.
It's like investment banking, right? We're gonna take this little pot of money, which is the child, and try to make some investments in it. And then we all contribute to it, and it grows, right? And then when mom and daddy's money's growing, everybody's happy, right? Everybody. Good job, y'all. We're gonna watch a video, but first of all, I need for you to take your participant 2 guides with you, because I'm gonna shake y'all up a little bit. If you would, each person at your table, close your eyes and reach in. Do not pre-plan what you're gonna take out of that candy bowl. You hear me? Close your eyes and reach for a piece of candy.
You go first. You go first.
I go first.
You go first.
Put my hand on
Don't eat it.
You're gonna come out with a
I don't like it. You can look at it after you fix it. All right. Who's got a Snicker? All right. Let my Snickers come over here. Who got a Hershey? Got a Hershey? Hershey? We may have to mix and match a little bit. Hershey's, come up here. Twix? Who else got a Twix? Go with the Hershey. Go with the Hershey. Go with the Hershey. Oh. Okay, that's 3. Who we got over here? Milky Way.
I can pull a deep little bit for me to play.
Go to the Snicker table in the back.
Okay, yes.
Are Milky Ways there?
Milky Ways?
Okay.
Milky Ways?
Where's Milky Way?
Yeah, take your books with you. Yeah, Milky Ways are coming here. What you got?
We've been kicked off the island.
Snicker? Snicker right here. Three Musketeers right here.
Oh,
Musketeer, right where?
Right here.
Have come.
Where's Milky Way?
Oh, this is bad stuff.
We got a lot of Milky Ways. So, yeah, let's split the Milky Ways up. Half and half.
Here, I just go back.
We have different color Milky Ways.
Okay, these are all Milky Ways? All right, you three. Y'all are Y'all are You. Yeah, you come with me. You three.
Y'all had milk right now, volunteers. That Milky Way in there. They were all Milky Way.
I'll still eat
Now we can. I do not deny who I am.
One of you guys go over here for me.
I've been with Chris all day, so.
Yeah. Perfect.
I get home, girl.
That wasn't as smooth as I had hoped.
Don't y'all get me in trouble now.
Okay. There are 6 process conditions on page 8. Unpack the video. That's where we are. On page 8 of day 2. You guys, relational. You guys, link to learning. You guys, asset-based. Culturally responsive and respectful. Collaborative and interactive. Okay, this video is lengthy, and in it, I want you to watch for evidence. So on beside your process condition, your assigned process condition, you're gonna write any evidence in this video that you see of that process condition being played out, okay? And then at the end of the video, I'll give you time to talk a little bit, and then you'll kind of share what you've seen. So it's kind of like the research. Take your notes, right, of other process conditions as groups share out. Now, Marisol, you may want to say a little bit about this video. This is produced by the Flamboyant Foundation. So if you were to Google Flamboyant, you can see it. It's up there. Not now. When the video starts, you can see it. Just write that down. There's a ton of videos that you can watch. They're very great. But this is evidence of what is called academic parent teacher teams, APTT, right? Do you want to talk a little bit about APTT? She was involved with it, so.
Yeah, APTT actually was born in my district. It was the dissertation of Dr. Maria Paredes, who was the director of the Community Education Department. That was my job after she left and went to work with APTT only. So APTT is just is kind of strategy, but what they do, or we used to do, is that you teach parents. You first select a something what you think your kids need in your grade level, and then you teach your parents, and you meet with them 3 times a year. You teach them a skill that they are going to practice with their kids every day. They created a goal and they commit to teach their kids in that standard for that period of time. So it is amazing, the results. And that was part of the strategy that we did in my district when we moved the students from 2% to 72% to grade level.
So they teach them like a standard, like, instructional standard.
Yes.
So supporting
as
that
a
instructional
teacher,
standard.
yeah. Usually as a grade level you meet and then you select what are the things that you think your kids need? And it is what I was saying the other day, you're trying to teach in 4th grade fractions, but your kids don't know how to multiply. So you said, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're gonna give the parents some games that they can do every night so the students can improve their multiplication skills. So you teach them some games, you do the I do, we do, you do with the parents, and they go home with that capacity. You know, they knew how to do that with their children. And they do that for the whole quarter, and then come back and you check, okay, they were here and now they're here. Also, you share some data with them. It is really nice.
Did you do this before? You didn't tell us like a time frame. Is this something that you do up front? Like once you get the data during the summer and you're looking at it, and then you guys came up with those?
Usually, what I've seen is that we do that once the kids come. So they come, you do the assessment, and then you have some data.
Okay.
And with that data, so for example, in your case, you can do your open house to create that relationship. And then the next meeting, then is when you are going to equip your parents with whatever you need so your kids will improve.
And already provides us with those tools.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing that she mentioned about open house was that building relationships. This particular school is in Washington, D.C. It's Stanton Elementary School. It was one of the most hot mess schools at the time. I don't remember when this video was filmed, but you have to understand, this is the video that you're going to see is their second meeting together, and that they have already built relationships with these families through some home visits as well. So this is not just the first one where they roll up and start doing this. So you'll, it's a great video to see how these play out in practice. Are you guys okay with these lights on back here? Okay. Here we go. You know what you're doing, right? Okay.
Hi, my name is Leela Spielberg, and I work for the Flamboyant Foundation. The video you're about to see is of an academic parent-teacher team, or APTT meeting. APTT is a family engagement strategy that aims to provide parents with the information that they need to be effective partners in their children's education. The APTT model was developed in the Creighton School District in Phoenix, Arizona by Maria Paredes. During the 2011 and 2012 school year, Flamboyant Foundation worked with 7 schools in DC to pilot this model. APTT meetings replaced traditional parent-teacher conferences with 3 75-minute group meetings and 1 30-minute individual conference. The video you are about to see is of a second APTT meeting in a 4th grade classroom at Stanton Elementary School. During this meeting, teachers and families will do 4 things together. First, there'll be a welcome and an icebreaker. During this time, parents and teachers will celebrate the growth that students have made since the first meeting, and parents will share strategies that they use to support learning at home with teachers and with each other. Second, foundational skills and data. Teachers share with families the most important skills that students need to master in that grade level, and parents review information about how the whole class is doing on those skills as well as their individual child's progress. Third, home learning activities. The teachers share activities that families can do with their child to increase their performance on these skills at home, and families and teachers practice these activities together. The last portion of the meeting is goal setting. With support from the teachers, parents set a goal for their individual child's progress between now and the next meeting, and commit to steps that they will take to help their children reach those goals. Our hope is that families leave these meetings with the information and tools that they need to make sure their child is successful in school. Now let's take a look at the clip and see what you think.
My job as a man, as a parent, as a father, as an educator, my baby girl, my youngest daughter, and grandchild, to prepare them for life. The reason why I came is I do believe that a parent should be involved in their kids' education. And, you know, if the teachers take time to plan, staff take the time to actually plan, like a session like we had today here, then we should at least go ahead and give enough respect to show up.
So we had a lot of success with APTT1, right? A lot of students with sight words and multiplication facts, we went from like around 50% to like over 90%, right? And we couldn't have done that if you guys weren't like playing multiplication war, like making them write down their sight words every night. Like we couldn't have made that happen. If you could at the table, just answer these 3 questions for me. What strategies do you use at home to make sure that your children are mastering the skills that you would like them to master, right? And just like last time when we came to the first ABTT, we read all the charts and we take your considerations into account. So if you could just also let us know what are some skills that you notice that your child is struggling with, because we take these and read them, right? And it helps us with our instruction.
Let's see for the money tonight. That was such a good strategy.
Thank you. So really quickly, we're just going to ask, and you can just, if you feel comfortable sharing some of the things that your group said. If you were just going to popcorn out. Yes.
Flashcards you gave us, and we also have a list of words that you gave us.
How many other people did that? So that's a good best practice, right? To study the words over and over. Does anybody else have something else that they want to add that they thought was really good? Because I see a lot of themes written on this paper. Right, the multiple songs? Yeah. How many people are tired of kind of hearing their kids sing? All the time. Now that we've celebrated our successes, we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of why we're here tonight.
So the goals of the meeting, by the end of tonight, you should be able to name the most critical reading and math skills that your child should know for the 4th grade. Explain your child's current progress in these skills. Set a SMART goal for literacy and math to work on for the next 60 days. Practice activities that will help your child meet those goals. So like we said before, reading is like riding a bike. You have to take small steps to be able to be smooth sailing on your own. So our first step was sight words, because a lot of students were getting stuck on words. And when they were getting stuck on words, they couldn't read the sentence, which is affecting their fluency. So now that we've mastered the sight words, we're moving on to fluency. And fluency is your ability to read with speed and accuracy. So today we're going to be working on fluency. Our class average is 69 and our class goal is 105, and we'll talk about that more when we look at the graph. So here's our class graph. We administer a fluency assessment called DIBBLES, and what happens is we have a passage, I have a passage, and the student has a passage. The student will read the passage for a minute. Every word they miscue, or they skip, or omit, I mark as wrong. We all read the passage on a 4th grade reading level, so you'll see your child's number at the bottom, and everything's on a 4th grade reading level. Here's our class average, which was around 69. Here's our class goal, which is 105. The reason why some of them are lower is because everybody took this on a 4th grade reading level. And as you know, all the students are not reading on a 4th grade reading level. Some students are reading on 3rd grade or 2nd grade, but they still had to take the test on 4th grade reading level, so that may have affected their score, or how many words they read accurately for that minute. But the class goal is for everybody to be reading on a 4th grade reading level by the end of the school year, and reading 105 words per minute correctly in the next 60 days. Yes, it is a lot of work. I heard Mr. Best up here making a noise like, whoa. Yes, it's a lot of work, but that's why we're here tonight. I believe, Ms. Bryant believes, our student believes that we can all do it. If you can open up your folders. On your right-hand side where it says literacy, you should see the class. Can I see yours, Mr. Best? Thank you. You'll see your class graph. There's a front and a back.
If you look on the back of the folder, you'll see your child's number. And if you came the first APTT, it's the same number.
So then your child's number corresponds to the graph. And if you look at your child's number and go up, you'll see the number of words correctly your child has scored on the graph in comparison to our class. So I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to take a look at your child.
So you'll know whether She said that she hasn't tried. We'll talk about that later. She can do it, we don't have to.
Okay, we're gonna move on to the actual activity, and the activity is actually the assessment that I use to assess the students, and it's called DIPPLES. So I'm gonna show you guys how to do it, then we're gonna do one together, and then you guys are gonna practice on each other. So let me explain to you how DIPPLES works. The student gets a copy, I have a copy. When the child says the first word, I start the timer. The timer is 1 minute, and I'm giving, everybody will be taking home a stand timer, which is 1 minute. They read, as they read, if there's a miscue, they say a word wrong, or they just admit the whole word, then I just check it or I circle it. Something that indicates, that lets me know they missed that word. When the timer goes out at the end of the minute, I stop and I mark off the last word they stopped at. Then I will count all the words, and then I'll subtract how many they got wrong. So that final number you get is the number they read correctly per minute. So then you're gonna practice the same text. You're gonna practice the same skill the entire week. But you have colored pencils in your folder. You're going to use a different colored pencil to mark the miscues each day. So if I use a red pencil today, tomorrow I'll use a yellow.
As I read along, I didn't know it was a mistake or not because I'm not used to them reading to me what they usually read and explain it to me. Okay. So on this questionnaire, as far as asking them questions, they're all kind of like combined because you have words similar to me that, you know, there are words that they can't pronounce themselves.
In your folder, there are enough sheets for 12 weeks. So if there's a word you may think that's pronounced one way, but your child is saying it another way, give me a call. I know most of you have my number. Mark that spot, and I'll call you. Don't feel embarrassed. It's not a problem. Now you're going to be a student, somebody's going to be a parent, and then we're going to switch. We're going to practice like that. Fluency struggle is to read 105 words correctly in a minute on a fourth grade reading level. So between Q and S is a fourth grade reading level by April 1st, 2012. So I have a question for you. If your child is reading 9 words correctly per minute, is it realistic to set their goal at 105 words? No. So that's one thing that we need to be mindful of when we take a look at our children's current scores and our goal. So just keep that in mind, and we'll be walking around to help you out. You have your goal sheet. It looks similar to what we had last time, but this time it has lines, so we can write the SMART goal. She's reading on a fourth grade level, so she has fourth grade material. So some people, so some people have different material. So we just practice on fourth grade level, but some people have third grade or fifth grade. So if you have a fourth grade level, she's already on practice for fact that she's reading on fourth grade level. So now we just do her fluency.
Maybe, like, if you work at nights, maybe you won't see them as much, you know what I'm saying? So, like, think about, like, how often you're gonna meet with them. And then you can start writing a goal. And it can start off with something like, my child is the
What we're gonna do is come up with our own word documents. So that by the time April 1st comes around, Princeton's averages from 90 to 100. We're gonna be at 100%. And computation, I'm sure that'll be no problem at all. Also at 100%, so we're also gonna create more math problems at home for to do. So on the English side or the reading side, more, book reading, which both of them can read very well. Princeton and knowledge management. But like we was instructed and it made sense. Since they already are very proficient readers, what we need to do is go ahead and get them reading more expression, more emotion. So that's the next level, that's the next step.
Yeah, that Flamboyant Foundation is what I was telling you about. All right. Y'all take just a couple minutes to discuss your thoughts, and then somebody's going to share. Victor's going to share. Volunteer, somebody's going to share.
That's all I know.
He said at the very end, the teacher at the end, but it was, it's not co-creating teachers, but it's like everybody to a certain extent. That's gonna happen.
And then you call it over,
No, I think we're up
No, that was one, fourth grade, yeah.
One guy had on stock, leather coats and
So that made it
maybe that person like that. Everybody knows my page paper, and knowing everybody in here, but at the same time, you don't research because some names are very important. So on name,
Yeah.
teachers don't like it.
It's okay for you to say, we don't want you to feel.
This is better than you want.
You know, like you're just someone that is really set on the teacher, but you really
So y'all need like try to
Yes.
Okay. Yes, indeed. This table is like room for party of two. Okay. We're gonna move through this pretty quick. We're gonna just take a few minutes for the bottom part of the sheet and then we'll take a break, okay? Relational. Give me two things that you observed.
One was that the teacher complimented the parents on their contribution, when she was talking about the multiplication card. She said, because y'all did this, we were able to do that, which is huge, and often true. And then the next thing was when the other man was talking about not being able to read or pronounce the words correctly, you know, hey, what do I do? You have to have a very good kind of open line of communication and trust to put yourself out there, because we're talking about a 4th or 5th grade classroom and a parent admitting, hey, I might not be able to read some of the words.
Yeah.
So those were two big.
Absolutely. Good deal. And the other thing that I noticed was, most of you have my phone number. I think you had mentioned that there. Okay, I'm just asking for two things. You guys have link to learning and development?
The take-home folders, I really liked that idea, and each one was personalized to that child. Like, it was almost like they were having a massive one-on-one parent meeting, but as a group. So if my child was reading on 7th grade level, I saw their stats where they were. And they met me right there to give me literature or, you know, on that level that my child needed.
Right.
I really like that. And the parental input that was there. I mean, you could tell the parents were they felt very free to speak. And that's what we said, probably the take-home folders and the children reading to the parents, it probably helped those parents with lower reading skills improve their reading at the same time.
Yeah. Good.
It was a win-win for the parent and the student.
Sometimes when we talk about link to learning and the data piece comes up and that every child's information is on the same data sheet, it is not being divulged, right? Because they have a coding system and each child has a number, and so only the parent knows what the number is and their number is associated. So there are creative ways that you can come up with to display an entire classroom data, because you need to know how your child is performing against the others in the classroom, right? Or what the class goal is.
Well, we like to see the way that she explained to the parents, not in a way just assuming they knew what doubles was.
Right.
You know, and she explained it, these are the foundations, this is what we did last time we met, now this is gonna be what we're doing this time, and she explained it, she let them practice it, and, you know, just that, and help them build the confidence that, hey, this is something I can help my kids do better on next time, so.
Regardless of how you feel about dibbles, right?
Regardless, it's a tool.
It's the tool, yeah. And then the other thing that I really like, one of my favorite parts of this video is the man at the end saying, yeah, they're both, my daughter and granddaughter, are reading high fluency rates. Now we have to start working on expression. I love that.
Got some big work.
I love that, right?
I said that stuff to my husband, and he probably looked at me cross-eyed.
Good job. Back here, you guys have asset-based?
Well, we said, you know, they taught the parents, you know, about fluency. They didn't, and what the double scores meant, and how to grade it, and they taught them those things, and then they practiced with each other. They role played, like the parents read, and you know, so they trained them on how to do everything.
Yeah, no assumptions, helping them build their capacity,
The
right?
parents, I did a shrimp meeting the other day, and she was like, but my son knows all his letters, and I said, yes, ma'am, but he needs to be able to name those letters on this sheet, this amount, 52, in 1 minute, and she said, oh.
Yeah.
I don't think, she knew that it had to be in a minute, but once we train them and teach them, they can
Yeah,
help us out
that's
too.
linking it back to learning and what the standard is, right? Good job. Culturally based and respectful?
Well, what we observed was the fact that we felt like the culture was safe for the parents to talk, come as you are.
Yeah.
And it seems like they they built a relationship, because it takes a lot for a parent to come and say something and be vulnerable. And so it seemed like in that they've had more than one time with the parent family engagement program.
Dr. Price asked a good question of me, and I want to share it with you guys. What if, in this scenario where a parent were practicing and one parent didn't know how to read, right? How would you handle that? And I suspect because of the way APTT is organized, that, and maybe you can speak to this, Marisol, but they had already built those relationships, and this was the second meeting. So I suspect that some of those ground expectations may have been played out.
And as I told you before, like, what I think is a good practice is to use your open house for building relationships. And then your first meeting, you do your ice breaking, for example, and then you start with the data, with like helping them to learn how are they going to support their children at home, but the relationship is already there.
Collaborative?
Okay, so when y'all talked about what if one parent doesn't know, that collaborative where teachers are not available, or staff's not available 24/7, then they depend on each other. So maybe I'm not good in reading, I'm good in math, and so maybe my neighbor or my friend will help me, and so we can work together to accomplish that. But the teachers got the parent input for the child's struggles and the strategies that they use at home that work well with their child. So the teachers aren't just saying, use this, use this, use this. They're being receptive of what works for your child. And then at the very end, because when I was listening, it was more like the teachers were saying, okay, you do this, parents, you do this. And at the very end, that parent said, all right, my kid is now fluent, so it was like his decision to say, now we've got to do more.
Pushing.
So that was the co-create, like it was his decision to do more with his child.
Good job, yeah. Interactive? The whole thing?
Yeah. I was say everything everybody said, everything, and we just said we love the honest conversations. And them not being able to be afraid to speak and have give that honest feedback, especially when they couldn't do it. What if I can't? And we like that we talked about the guided practice with the parents, because oftentimes we give them stuff and we send stuff home with the kids, but then we actually go and show them how to. With the guided practice, I love how they had each other time one another. Man, that would make a big difference in our school. Not doing doubles right now, but still doing that practice of that fluency. But parents don't know that. Just know, okay, set the timer. All right, you done reading? Where'd you stop?
Right.
For some students, instead of showing them how to. So even if we could do a Zoom video to send out to parents and to show them how to do that, I think that would be good as well. But the interaction between the teachers and the parents were wonderful.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And what we used to do is do the I do, we do, you do with the parents. So like at the beginning, the teacher will do a demonstration with the other teacher about the skill that she's presenting. Then she will do with the families. And for example, if they're doing an activity with multiplication, I am the parent and then the audience is going to be the children. So I practice, okay, this number times this number, then the audience is going to answer.
React, yeah.
And then the third part is that we do, and then they do it with another, parent. Sometimes what we used to do is, we used to bring the kids to the classroom. And then, the parents will practice with their own child, and the teacher will be going around and coaching, like making sure.
Providing that feedback,
Exactly,
yeah.
giving them feedback.
One thing I was gonna say is, I saw one, but it was a childcare issue. But did you see any fourth graders in this classroom showing and telling? This was about adult work, right? You can have the kids come, but provide another venue for them to be occupied while families can truly focus on practicing that skill and getting the right feedback.
I liked it when she said, if your child is only reading 9 words, is our expectation going to be 100 and whatever?
Right.
And so that she probably went over, I feel like she went to that parent and they lowered the goal a little bit, just to still work on the goal, but.
Yeah, helping families understand what realistic is, right, and a SMART goal. All right. What I would like for you to do now is, on the bottom of that page, are some questions about organizational issues, or the organizational conditions. What would it take for your school district to implement a similar effort? So if you'll take just real quickly, let's take about 3 or 4 minutes, just jot down some ideas. Once you're done with that, we've got cupcakes in the back. Take a quick break, and we gotta get right back to it, okay?
For the district or the school? I would do it for the district.
Yeah, you would do it for the district, and you could do it either way. You would do it for the district, but you guys, if you have thoughts about how the district might be able to help implement this, I'd be open to hear that too.
Are we going back to our seats after the?
I'm actually gonna mix you up again, so you might just want to leave your stuff there. Maybe have some time. There's some paper in here. He's the first to open the cup.
We are right down there, trying to figure out something.
I'm gonna spill my tea on this one. Actually, I saw this.
I've been told that you don't cut subpapers in half, and then you worked hard to get the icing on the.
Yeah, you take the bottom off.
Oh, no.
You put it on top.
It's not as fancy.
Then your icing right in the perfect spot.
Now that looks pretty.
The first time I did this, my husband thought I was crazy when I saw it. But you have the perfect icing body ratio. That's the best way to eat it.
No, it's not a cupcake, it's not what it's looking like. Cupcake killer.
I'm gonna teach you how to build someone a pig, now Mr. Act.
Oh.
She's in the nose.
I can see that. I'm rolling with you.
What we would need for our people to get them on board, and not as, here's a program, show us the end result, what happened at the end. We gotta have data.
Exemplars of that. I'll just tell you what, show you how we want it done. Show you how it works.
Yeah. I would do all the work.
Give your feedback. No, I think it's good. I think. We stay in our group, so.
I'm gonna mix it up again, so I might as well just submit
On my list up here, I need to pay. Not necessarily care, but just pay. Then we need to make sure projected capabilities we do. And it's hard to look at. I'm gonna come and go that other line. So that way we can have half of it. And half of it, and that way I can have college. Hundred and something in cafeteria.
Their side of what they can.
What types of food?
Well, you come up with a Facebook, that's a whole different
Most of there is really good.
Oh, I know.
Oh, I
What you gotta do is key. The next step is for us to define all these different things. We don't take those it's the old way of fronting. The minute you get enough information, so that when I sit down and have a conversation, you've got all the models. Then what we do is you explain the model, why the model works. Then you bring up how it's going. Then, that's called, that's not like a 3-day workshop, that's a one front-loaded information that that's a 1-hour session, another 1-hour session. This is how it will work. If you give it that way, because that's the mistake.
We just throw it and say, here, do it.
We model.
It's like little comments or a moment. These might be touched off. So he was making a
Let's pull it back together in about 2 minutes, okay?
One of the things we're gonna have to
You know, you don't need.
Have I ever let you down? I'm good about getting things done. I have my priorities, not necessarily right now. Doesn't matter. No, I'll help you out with it. You go through the, you go through the video first, and then I can sing some of these, different elements.
He knows where that one was, he said, I just gotta find something.
Always got you. Ever let you down?
Have I let you down?
No, this is why we want to go. Hold each other accountable.
No, you just knocked it over.
Yep.
Hey, there's one in there.
My name's down to you, ain't gonna like it. So let's calm down. Let's sit up. Let's see what and then the moment second, I need you to call.
Sounds like
I do too.
We're doing this in
Oh, I just got one, he's 12, he's 7.
He can't say nothing about mine and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, you got my little sister.
Thing was gone. My kids know.
Somebody said it best.
There's a pleasure in it.
Oh my God, yes.
Shout out to know how to swim.
Yes, ma'am. We used to live in
Yeah,
That's pretty much.
Put yourself in a little bar.
All right, guys. Get your sugar, get your ramped up for these last 40 minutes. Anybody want to share their thoughts on organizational conditions? Let me rephrase. Who would like to share their thoughts on the organizational conditions?
We would like to see it built into the school calendar.
Built into the school calendar.
Almost like a requirement. And, you know, if we're gonna use the data, then it needs to be right at the end or right close to when we give out our tests, either mid, you know, right at the beginning, maybe the middle, and toward the end, at least that many times, so.
And sync those system calendars so that we don't have them on the same time.
Yes.
That we don't have them at the same time.
Because you might have, I had 3 children, and it would have been hard for me to get to all of the schools if it was on the same night.
Yeah.
So they can almost be staggered in some way.
If they can be staggered during the day, if
And so
possible,
that
but I
means
know
that
parents have to go to work.
as teams are planning, they need to look at the calendar, because sometimes people will plan, we'll sit in a meeting, we're planning a date and somebody else already has it on the calendar. But we claim it because we planned it in our meeting, but it was already on the calendar, so we'll just, logistically, we can get it.
Yeah.
Well, and another thing our principal pointed out one time, we need to kind of know the sports schedule. Because they're not gonna skip a sports game to come to a,
Math night.
no.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a PD. What PD?
Oh, not this math night, you come on me.
What PD?
We need, I think we need this training for more
Yeah.
than just us as parents. And we talked a lot about being culturally sensitive. We need cultural relevance training.
Yes.
And I just put discourse because we need to learn, this has been a great group as far as talking, but I can know that 1 or 2 people in here that don't know how to, there needs to be some training on discourse. You know,
Got
on
it.
how to respectfully.
Disagree or?
Yes.
Got it.
Professional development on professionalism.
And you said it, hours ago today.
I think some teachers may need, a little training on how to talk and teach adults, because that's what she was
Yeah.
doing. I've heard many teachers say, I can teach kids all day, but I don't wanna teach adults.
Ooh, vice versa for me.
Vice versa for me. Appreciate and respect what you all do.
I've said it at least 5 times in 2 days.
You don't want other people's children, right?
Say it out loud at 6 hours.
She said that
I should say I don't like other children that I can't pinch.
We got it.
And I know we have said this, but parents can't come to what they don't know about. We have got to figure out the communication breakdown. That has got to happen. That's number 1.
So,
Priority number 1.
yeah,
System-wide.
you have to social market your brand, right? Here's your brand,
Yeah.
right there. Let's social market it.
You can either tell your story or somebody else is gonna tell it their way.
Yes, ma'am. Last question was, is there anything else that you jotted down that might be needed to sustain this effort?
Resources, I've got folders, data organized by numbers, ways to get the word out, incentives. I volunteer Benjamin Russell students to come welcome my parents. Tables and chairs, projector capability.
She has been
Embedded.
working.
This has got to be embedded in who we are.
And we have to have time to plan for it.
Train the trainer, train the trainer.
That's exactly right. There must be time.
And people have to be
in the
committed to that
schedule.
time to plan.
But you also have to get the parents excited about it.
Yeah.
Because if you tell me that we're doing a workshop, I mean, I would come, because, but you've gotta get the parents excited.
Yeah.
One thing that yesterday when I was talking to Ms. Smith, we were talking about sustainability. And like, she came up with saying that like maybe there is a parent board or something, because like I told her, we're gonna change administrators, teachers are gonna come and go, superintendents are gonna come and go. But if a child enters Jim Pearson, most of the time they're gonna go through to Benjamin Russell. Our parents are the constant factor. And so if we had that parent board, or what, she said it doesn't have to be a board, we don't know what it's
Call
gonna
us whatever
be.
you want, yeah.
Yeah, but we had a group of parents that maybe started with this group that sees it through, and you know, we keep replenishing it as their kids graduate. That could be the sustainability part, as far as we have to do this. If we don't do anything else, we're gonna do this, you know, that,
Or
because
even if
again.
we keep this group to represent each school and, you know, teach other groups or something.
Right.
Or have to, you know, implement the same training each, not, you know, not,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
That's just like the PTO, okay? Like you'll have those, you have some of these like star PTOs, and like, we just waiting on them to get to ACMS. Come on, PTOs, let's get to ACMS, because you see, and that group follows those children throughout. We need that with this.
But as we've said, we just need to make sure that it's more representative of our community.
Yeah.
We need a template. In my mind, I'm thinking of a template, just a template that we can follow. Because as I was speaking to her, we were just sitting here trying to figure out, you know, this is the time frame for meeting number one. And so I think if we have a template and then we just kind of fill in where
And
we would
build.
be. Exactly. We can tweak it and make it our own if we have to.
Chris?
There was a study done several years ago on church growth, which is using part of the data from it, but a book came about it, and it was that rabbits outpace elephants. And it's when people try to build something, they think they have to have an elephant. They have to have the biggest, best, nicest thing. And they don't realize the time it takes to bring forth an elephant. However, if you let rabbits just do what rabbits do, which we all know what that is, okay, they will actually outsurpass the mass, size, weight, and everything of the elephant in the exact same period of time. And so the idea is that if we take groups like this, and we will support one another, and then we will go and just create one more group. I don't need you to go get 20 people, I need you to get one. I need one parent to go get one other parent and bring them into the fold. I need one teacher to go get one teacher and bring them into the fold. All of a sudden, if you just give it time, and you stay committed and stay connected, you'll outpace anything else, and you'll be bigger, stronger, and you'll be more connected than you ever were with the idea of just trying to be something big. It's just the way that it works. But we don't think that way. We think that we've got to have this kind of perfect scenario along the way. We just kind of want to go get one person, and then go get one person again, and it'll do its job.
Yeah, because if you had 20 at this meeting, that's better than the 2 you had last year.
Yeah,
You know, so.
for sure. Well, thank you for doing that. I also now want you to, I know some of you are still eating your cupcakes at a turtle's pace. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
Everybody who knows me know that I eat extremely slow.
I see that. Don't let that interfere with the next activity. All right, without saying anything, and you're gonna need your participant guide. Without saying anything to each other, I want you down the middle of the tables to line yourselves up, tallest to shortest. Without saying anything.
At our table, just our table?
Down the middle, everybody. Down the middle.
Tallest to
Don't
shortest.
say, yeah, you're not asking how tall anybody is. You're not.
We'll be at the end.
Yeah, we should go to the back.
I know you will. Shortest on this.
No talking.
Got it. Nice and tall.
See, you're not at the end. That's number 2. number off, 1 through 5.
2.
3, 4.
Think of
1, 2,
3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3.
Ones, twos, threes, fours, fives. Good job. Another way to connect people, right? Another way to get people talking to different people. You can talk now. I'm sorry. I didn't release you. You were released.
Yeah.
We need our stuff.
You need, yes. Well, they're up here, but you're gonna write something. But in your group, yeah. You can sit. If y'all want to stand, you can stand. So we're going to talk about how we move from our traditional approach to family events to more of a capacity building approach. So on the screen, and what page is that in your book? Page 9 in your book. Each one of you are going to take one of these traditional approaches, and you're going to talk through it, and I'll assign that in just a moment. You're going to talk through it and come up with some ideas to make that a more capacity building approach. Okay, so you guys have the first one. Families enter a large auditorium and immediately find seats, and that's stadium seats. Y'all can stand or sit. You guys do.
What you need us to do, I'm sorry. I'm one of those students, you gonna have to say.
I have to differentiate? Okay. So, on the screen is just an example of a traditional approach that we would use in a family event, say like for an open house. All your families come in, they go to the auditorium, they sit or sit in the bleachers, whatever, right? How can we make that more of a capacity building approach? Like thinking about the process conditions that we've just been through, what are some ways that we can make each of these statements more dual capacity friendly? Okay? And you've got definitions in your book. You need to look back at those. You can. So you guys have the second one. The principal, AP, and counselors stand up and introduce themselves to families. You guys get the third one. The assistant principal presents a 45-minute PowerPoint presentation in English only. You get this one. The PowerPoint has only one slide that shows families where on the school website they can access the parent portal. And you guys have the last one. Okay, good. And then you guys are going to share out, okay? I suspect this is an open house, huh?
This is just
it's so sick because they,
hot cold out. Yeah, it's in the like my son said, PowerPoint on the shoulder the whole time. Get a cold. Get a cold. Pretty gross. Gotta go in that parent
Information they get about care. But you know, I think we just sent a whole letter.
Like, just say find this and then go in here, gotta look through this and find this. Where is this?
It would help them navigate on the site so that when they are like computer or home, that they have more and know how to find the teacher, how to find the lunch, what's for lunch next week. You know, so
and that would be good, it'll be people around, so you tell them about the technology, get on the computer or whatever, and there'll be some people around to help, you know? Yeah. I like that.
Can they read it? They can read it, that's what they would say, it's great to have, can they read the Spanish?
It's a lot of tension about that.
When it now from November to June, July, to lay everything out, ready to go. During the summer, we get ready to work with parents.
Yeah, what we did, we just have to like call them, you know, she have places and put out their own food and so forth. Put out their own platforms that here.
Like that. I think that's what I'm saying here. Here it is, because we do that. Oh, me too. Oh, that's scary.
It's hard, I know it's a couple of minutes, my screen is frozen. It was all frozen. My son, just go for this. And I'm like, what? I didn't do anything.
See, there's no access, like, she can't go and find her students. I can get in, but I don't have a class, so I can, like on High Now, I can go in and search students, and I can pull up their info.
So you don't have a class, so you don't have to have access, right? So right now, you just wait.
No, I just want to be able to find my questions.
But I don't want to be able to do that, but I need to be able to find those students, I need to find the information on them, I need to get the grades, contact. I need info on, you know?
Give them permission.
Like a practice gym. Get the parents going and search around on certain things.
It is totally boys' room. That's a good idea. It's with high school. First, everybody in the auditorium, and then they divide it into groups. So some groups.
You guys, you got some ideas?
And then they sign in, and then
All right.
it's captured.
Who's gonna share? Your families enter, oh, that's not y'all, that's you. Your families enter a large auditorium and immediately find seats, stadium seats. How do we make that more dual capacity friendly?
We just talked about, meeting them at the door with decks of cards and randomly giving them cards, and that would disperse them to small group settings. And then we could break that down even further if they were, like, all the odd numbers, you're gonna go on this side, even numbers on this side, another way to break it down to smaller groups.
By suit, so like all the hearts might go to the cafeteria, all the diamonds might go to the lunchroom or something like that, and then to another group.
Good deal. I have seen, when you're welcoming families into the building, I have seen, like name tags, and each grade level has like a different color sticker on, so like first grades are elephants, and second grades are tigers, and that splits them up so that they're, in groups where they have the same students in the same grade level. Good job. The principal, assistant principal, and counselors stand up and introduce themselves to the families. How do you move that to a more capacity building approach?
Well, we thought about, instead of them introducing themselves, have sort of like a game show type setting to where people are where you share information about the principal, the AP, and the counselor, maybe about their job duties, but also things about them like what they like to do, places they like to vacation, things like that that could make a connection to parents. And then the parents try to guess who's the principal, who's the assistant principal, who's counselor,
That's cool.
instead of just introducing yourself.
Yeah.
And we also talked about having a little lunch and learn where the principal, AP, and counselor may meet with small groups over lunch to have those
More intimate
conversations.
Yeah. You could also put them out front and center to welcome everybody in with a big tag that says, "I'm the principal," right?
Exactly.
Boom. Put you right out there in the parking lot. All right, number 3, the assistant principal presents a 45-minute PowerPoint in English only about school goals and curriculum. Everybody falls asleep after. How do you make that more dual capacity building?
We were thinking about smaller groups and have interpreters that would actually present to the different language specific groups. For instance, if you had Spanish speakers and so forth and so on, and do it that way. So it would be also 45 minutes. Let's be honest, that's a lot.
They ain't never coming back again.
So, it talked about, school goals, so we were thinking how they had the individual goals in that parent night for them. So if we put the school and the individual's goals, that would kind of break up some of that 45 minutes and do it that way. And almost, giving them something else to focus on other than just one big 45 minute.
What about breaking up the different curriculum area goals into stations and doing rotations that way? That might be another way to consider. And it's more of a modeling, not like just the teacher standing in the station telling them what they're going to cover, showing examples of what work might look like. Good job. All right, the PowerPoint has one slide that shows families where on the school website they can find the parent portal.
We talked about, if we're just assuming that at this particular meeting that they want the parents to learn how to access the portal. So instead of just doing that, we thought about dividing them up into groups you know, ways like you were talking about possibly, but putting them into groups and providing the technology and teachers or counselors or principals, whoever can walk around to help assist that, but help them navigate the portal, show them how, let them to, you know, practice it, but also we talked about having a scavenger hunt, like, you know, simple things like, how would I find my child's teacher's website or my child's teacher's email? How would I find out what the school lunch is for this week? And let them find those scavenger things along the way and, you know, they can come back together with it.
It sounds like you were trying to say practice and feedback. I don't know what that is, but that's a great way to. That's a great way. Good job, yeah. Actually, hands-on with some computers, going through the steps, right? But we already talked about how adults learn, right? They need to get their hands dirty a little bit.
And we don't just have parents, we have grandparents, great-grandparents.
Aunts and uncles. Yep. Okay, last one. Orientation ends with a 5-minute Q&A session.
Okay, so we talked about a few different options, okay? Depending on our population, depending on where we were and how the rest of the meeting was going. But we talked about how you could do a QR code scanner, you know, just let them scan and put in their preferred contact information, a child's name, their name, and then they could give us their question, you know, and then we could get back with them at their preferred method of contact. But that would be after maybe they had a turn and talk opportunity. So they had an opportunity to kind of ask each other and build that parenting network that we're wanting, and maybe figure it out that way first. Another method could be to do like an exit ticket with them. And that way it doesn't have to be virtual, it doesn't have to be a digital situation in case you get people that don't have a cell phone that can do Q&R or whatever. And you could have it, you know, like a parking lot to put those things. And so then you know, as a system, what you need to come back and make sure that you have readdressed, because there were some misconceptions or questions that were still lingering.
Nice.
And also, if we wanted to be able to stand up and ask questions, you know, parents know everything, right? So a parent stands up and asks a question, another parent over here stands up and answers the question. And then maybe whoever's the leader of the thing can maybe add to it. But they answer and talk amongst themselves, you know, and then maybe we just support an answer or go further with an answer. And, you know, just kidding.
Yeah, here in a second we're going to do a reflection activity, and maybe that's, you know, the kind of thing, you just want to make sure that you're culturally responsive. So if you have population where Spanish speaking is the language that you have, if you do graphic organizers, that those graphic organizers are in the language of the languages of the families that are at your school. Good job. Y'all okay sitting where you are? We've only got 12 minutes. Okay. All right. Just in your notes section, we're going to take about 3 or 4 minutes. And this is just a self-reflection for you. I'll leave this, I'm going to turn this front light off so y'all can see a little bit better. But there's 4 questions I want you to consider as we think about the process conditions that we have really spent a lot of time with today. What do you understand about the 6 process conditions? Do you have the capacity to work with families? What are some skills that you would like to develop? And in which areas can you grow and develop related to this work? And again, this is just self-reflection for you. If you want to share, I'd be happy to hear it. Can y'all see that better now? But not your own papers.
be able to help support that conversation.
But then the teacher could come in to the parent and say, what can I do, how can I help? Then let the kids do that first, then have the teacher come in and have that conversation and say, this is what you can do.
And I bet you could even contact their parents and get them, even a parent right now, they don't know how to sometimes about right now.
She said, on the IRB, he's probably doing well, but there might be an area that's a little lower. You would say, hey, let me work on this, comprehension, vocabulary, not be, you know what I'm saying?
That could help them.
Alright, guys. Food for thought. One more minute. 30 more seconds. So, tomorrow we're going to start with sort of reimagining a family engagement event. I'd like for you to think about tonight your family engagement events that you have put on this year. Name some.
We haven't really, we're having a virtual, it's like a read aloud, the teachers are reading the book in class and they're gonna read it to the parents and the students and have conversations on Zoom.
Did you say you're going to have it? Because you haven't had it yet. Okay.
The three elementaries have had a Title I.
Yeah.
We did a literacy component with ours, where they broke off after the Title I and went to the classroom. But I don't think it was interactive. I don't think that the parents had an opportunity to work together.
Yeah. It probably
They got to
didn't.
see like what a teacher would do in a classroom, I believe, but they did not interact.
We usually fall short on that interaction and collaboration and that feedback. The kinds of events that I think about are like math nights, literacy nights, maybe you have a cultural awareness night, multicultural night, read alouds.
STEM nights.
What?
STEM nights.
STEM nights, thank you. So tonight, in all of your free time, think about, I'll just leave those questions up on the slide. Think about how the event flowed. Think about, did your families leave knowing what's expected, knowing how to help? Did you learn from each other? Did you leave the event knowing more about your families? Did families and staff get to practice anything? And were there opportunities for families to network with one another? So chew on that a little bit. When we come back tomorrow, I'll get your thoughts about that. Yeah, you're welcome to take pictures of that slide. I'll get your thoughts about that. And then you'll be working in your school teams tomorrow. And I'd like for you also to think about, to bring to the discussion to your table, what event that you either normally have or that you think you might want to do. Think about that so that we can use that as I've got a template for you to kind of work that through the process conditions to make sure that we're hitting all of the boxes and that we're making it linked to learning, because that's the first thing that you're gonna see, that it's relational, that we have made room for cultural respect, asset-based, collaborative, interactive, all those things, okay? And then the other thing that we're gonna do tomorrow is, I think it's probably fairly easy for you to pull up your school improvement plans. I would also like you to think about a data piece, like, is there a specific piece that, of your literacy program that is lower than the others, and what that actual data set is? So maybe it's only 36% of our kids are scoring at level on X skill, whatever, okay? So think about that, because we're gonna use that information to help build how we're gonna use family engagement as a strategy to help improve that, okay? Questions? We close today with only a 1-minute Q&A. I would like to close though with each person give me one word that describes your experience so far in this training.
Great.
Impactful.
Intentional.
Intentional. Informative. Hope. Strategic. Exciting. Authentic. Explicit. Cupcake. Empowering, interactive. Engaging. Achievable. Vulnerable.
Resourceful.
Resourceful.
Research,
yeah.
Can't go wrong with that.
Cupcake.
Candy bar.
Inspiring. You guys are inspiring to me, so thank you for that. Informative. Beat it. 8 o'clock tomorrow. I am rectal cancer.
Is that your handwriting?
10 o'clock tomorrow.
10 o'clock.
Micro. 8 a.m. We got a lot to do tomorrow.
Hey girl,
I didn't see his email until later in the day.
You and I? The awesome house?
Yeah, he was there too. Yes, sir.
Good.
See, he called me his wife.
How do you just get to keep coming in at the very end of these? Like,
I'm getting internship hours. I'm really not.
you don't really need it.
I really need it.
It is.
Yeah, it was. 30 minutes. That was great, man.
30 minutes?
Yeah, all right, about 6 hours.
Right.
All right, well, good to see y'all.
Hey, this isn't yours, is it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, you wouldn't get far.
No.
They telling you something
The
wrong.
kids don't like theirs, that's for sure. I like mine.
Look, I'll be digging mine and it's in my pocket.
Your bag.
Of course my
Are they in her
pocket.
bag? Baylor's
Look, that's the number one thing I use my iPhone my watches. That's it. I really take my phone. I use that more than anything else. And Mark always gives me it's like, oh, what's happening?
And he has two, because he's got to keep up with the work.
Yes. Ooh, no.
This is the wrong one.
We will see you tomorrow. Thank you guys for all your hard work. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you. We'll see y'all tomorrow.
All right, see you. Bye, guys.
All right, thank you for your work.
Yeah, so I'll see what I
Thank you for your hard work. Be good. Make it quick.
have a good day.
Oh, I'll take it out to the thing.
She's talking about her personal.
Cause they can't go in her room.
Well, I didn't say that.
She's telling herself, she just said out loud, she need to set her transfer out, so they come and clean today.
Okay.
But she, her doctor, like, they can't give me an office. You gotta record.
Oh. Keep forgetting to do that, thank you.
Not, I heard about garbage.